Welcome to Legacy Conversations, a channel where we preserve military memories and history.
Hello everyone, it's Koos here. And I've met some very, very interesting people when I was in South Africa during November to January of 24 to 25. And one of those I met is a fellow called Koos Joubert. Now, Koos was number 3 in Arms Corps until he left. He's an absolute expert about armored vehicles, especially landmine-proof vehicles. And so he will give us quite a few episodes coming where we talk about certain vehicles, but he also gave me 3 videos. The first one, which I'm playing for you here now, and it might be on the internet already, probably is. People don't care about copyright that much, but we have actually permission to use this one, and it was made back in the day, 98, 99, right about there, by Arms Corps itself. And it is about the Casper. Now the Casper came into being, now the Casper was used. And then, of course, as we know afterwards, most of the police Caspers anyway were sold to India. We immediately put a lot better headlights on them. I saw a few. So we're still, after 50 years, we're still going strong. And this video is really good because it takes you at the back into the backroom boys and how they were testing their things. It's very fascinating to me because, in the Russians, the Soviet Union were actually the guys who started mass parachute drops. And they did this long before the UK or US got there, long before the West. And one of the things they were testing is how to drop a tank. Yes, an actual tank by parachute, and see the people survive. And Stalin and these people insisted that the designer of this parachute and this idea it was be actually inside that tank while they dropped it. At the end of the day, his son was inside and they did survive that. But what's fascinating to me here is you find the scientists inside the Caspers while they are being test detonated by mines. And that's perhaps a good thing which we can think about. It is very exciting videos. There's 3 of them. This one's about the Casper. There's going to be another one about the Buffalo. And there's going to be yet another one about the Samels, the vehicles. So let's look at the Casper first. But before we start, let us go to the sponsor of this video and see if he's got anything which we want. There's something I want to bring to your attention, and that is George M. James. That's an author. And he wrote many, many books, dozens of books, and all of them has to do with South African military, has to do with espionage, counterterrorism, that type of thing. And each of those books are written with a specific purpose. And there are 53 of them. And George M. James has been a sponsor of this channel like in forever, since the very first video came out. So whatever George M. James books you buy, come back to Legacy. And they are available on audio, they're available on Kindle, they're available in paper, hardcover and softcover. All of them are available on Amazon. Some of the books are available in South Africa as well, in softcover. And I'll leave the details here. I urge you to have a look at it. Go to the website, have a look at the website. And I'm sure you're going to discover marvelous things there. I can be very blunt to you. If you like Legacy, if you want to support Legacy, want to support us in what we do, then please go and look at the George M. James books. Get hold of them. You're going to learn things which you didn't know. And a lot of the things we've discussed on Legacy has also come out in those books. And what is fascinating, those books were written before Legacy came. So they were deeper knowledge than what I think most of us would realize.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and a very hearty welcome to you all. What a privilege it is to celebrate such a special occasion with old and new friends. 1999 is a very special year for me, as it marks my 21st anniversary. Yes, believe it or not, the original monocoque hull concept was first devised in 1977. Travel with me as we rekindle memories of the good times and disappointments we have shared since my birth. Landmines are among the most treacherous weapons used in conventional warfare. They strike indiscriminately and never miss, continuing to kill long after hostilities have ceased. The Hippo and Buffel troop carrier vehicles and their crew had to contend with these inhumane weapons daily during the South African Security Forces' involvement in a low-intensity border war in the 70s. It wasn't long before the Hippo and Buffel began to feel the punch, and eventually they could no longer be operationally repaired at a cost-effective rate. At the same time, the then South African Police Force had indicated the need for a special multi-purpose vehicle for use in Africa's infamous difficult terrain. Under Project Geisha, the Applied Chemistry Unit of the CSIR began research and development work and constructed the first monocoque hull in 1977 using a Hippo body and Bedford components. They named it the Crocodile. If looks had been the deciding factor at this stage, the vehicle would never have been developed further. In 1978, the Applied Chemistry Unit developed a second prototype vehicle with a lower silhouette and better features than the Crocodile. At the same time, Arms Corps developed two Hippo Mark II vehicles, one with a chassis and one with a semi-monocoque hull design. All three of these vehicles used Bedford components, which later proved to be unreliable and underpowered. At the initiative of Colonel Bux Lombard of the South African Medical Services, the Chemical Defense Unit developed the Flossie ambulance using Mercedes-Benz components. This eventually led to the production of 44 Rinkhals ambulances based on SAML 50 Mark I driveline components. The South African Police was operationally committed to the war in the then Rhodesia and the border conflict in Southwest Africa, now known as Namibia. They were very conscious of the need for a replacement for the Hippo, which, owing to its instability, had serious shortcomings in off-road applications. General Piet Kruger, now retired, introduced the concept demonstrator to senior officers of the then SAP and instructed Koos Joubert of UCDD and Gus Modlin of TFM to develop a powerful vehicle which was better engineered for production. A development budget of 30,000 Rand was arranged, and the UCDD and TFM contributed a considerable amount from their own budget. The prototype was delivered in 1979. Obviously, a good design is essential in such a vehicle, so I was subjected to mobility trials in Pretoria and the White River region, and was fitted with 1200 by 20 tires. At some stage during all this activity, the first production order for 30 vehicles was placed and was followed by a further order for 155 to the company Henrid Freuhoff. The last 40 of these vehicles were built by TFM in the specially constructed factory at Olifantsfontein. Utilizing an OM 352 natural aspirated engine and 1200 by 20 tires, we were produced at a unit price of 7,000 Rand. I was named the Casper Mark I. UCDD delivered all my driveline components, while TFM constructed my body and did the final assembly and delivery. Once Arms Corps technical personnel had been introduced to my production version, they suggested the prototype vehicle be upgraded with a turbo engine and 1400 by 20 tires. This UCDD did at their own cost. I was renamed Casper to differentiate me from the production units. Koos Joubert of Arms Corps conducted stringent operational tests on me, including mine blast tests with a CSIR. I must mention that my engine was running during these detonation trials, which proved that the monocoque hull also protected my organs. The report of this operational evaluation, as well as feedback from the Kufut teams in Southwest Africa, led to several modifications, and from 1981 I became known as the Casper Mark II-A. Smaller modifications later placed me on Mark II-B and Mark II-C status. Operational requirements and mobility limitations in wet conditions, owing to the non-availability of a differential lock on the Mercedes-Benz front axle, led to the development of the Casper Mark III. Introduced in 1984, these vehicles were fitted with ZF axles, which offered a limited slip differential capability to ease the driver's task. A short wheelbase called Casper Dumpy was also developed and showed outstanding vehicle performance. Decision makers rejected this concept, however, because it carried 2 crew members less than we did. Besides the troop carrier, the SAP understood the concept of a family of vehicles to ease the operational and logistics burden, and instructed TFM to develop a recovery vehicle, cargo carrier and fuel tanker called the Gemsbok, Blesbok and Dacre, respectively. It felt good to know that I met all the user's requirements of mobility, reliability, mine protection against multiple mines, ballistic protection, bush protection, ease of maintenance, and cost effectiveness. Besides my excellent protection against anti-tank mines, another outstanding feature was that I could be refurbished up to 7 times before needing major repairs to the hull. The cost per detonation and downtime was drastically reduced, with guaranteed high operational mobility. I was not only beautifully proportioned, being 6.9 meters long, 2.45 meters wide, and 2.85 meters high, but I also weighed a solid 11 tons. Enough for a wheeled vehicle to sustain the onslaught of anti-tank mines and still deliver excellent performance. I could travel at a speed of 98 kilometers an hour and climb 60% gradients with ease. My crew confirmed my exceptional strategic and tactical off-road capabilities. I was responsible not only for transporting a crew of up to 14 soldiers, but also for protecting them. My loyal nature meant my crew could always rely on me, even in remote areas where there was no support. I carried their 200 liters of drinking water and a combination of light and heavy machine guns, from 7.62mm caliber to 20mm cannons. I'd also been fitted with excellent communication and navigation systems. No wonder some of my crew regarded me as an African infantry combat vehicle. Together, we made a formidable team, and the soldiers' morale was always high. Up until now, I'd been used in 3 major scenarios: riot control situations, border war conflicts, and humanitarian demining operations. When my country went through a stressful transition phase, I played a significant supportive role in combating crime in South Africa. My height and interior volume enabled my crew to observe flashpoints for several days and then react quickly when necessary. I received several special features while performing this role, such as wire cutters, steel roofs, window mesh protection, bush bars, searchlight, and a public address system. My involvement in riot control and crime prevention has since been taken over by the RG-12 Nyala, which is considered more acceptable to the public. Personally, I considered border war conflicts to be the real test of my capabilities. Mines were detonated almost daily, and I had to perform follow-on cross-border operations. Believe me, traveling through dense bush under the constant threat of landmines is no joke. Weather conditions were extreme. Summer temperatures reached 40 degrees Celsius during the day, and in winter dropped as low as -10 at night. To make matters worse, we also had to contend with rain and marshland. Sometimes infantry companies only advanced 2 kilometers in 3 days. I can recall many times when bridges had to be built with trees so that we could cross riverbeds. Sometimes the driver's judgment was not so good, and we had a hell of a time recovering a vehicle from the river. When crossing roads, my crew first had to do a sweep with detectors to minimize the likelihood of detonating mines before my friends and I could cross. My crew and I had to be tough in our encounters with the bush that scratched our bodies and the sun that burned us to a cinder. At night, the tension was palpable, and the cold cut through us like a knife. But our hardships were all worth it in the end. When we reached our destination safely, we could look back proudly and share some emotional moments together. We were a great team. Of course, sometimes we did not reach our destinations in one piece. Because of my high level of mine protection and mobility in the bush, the enemy laid specific mine patterns with large amounts of explosives. They also set ambushes and used anti-tank systems against us. I clearly remember the day my crew and I were ambushed. A TMK-2 anti-tank mine penetrated my guts, and the ensuing shrapnel caused extensive injuries, which eventually led to the deaths of 4 of my crew members. This was indeed a sad day. The first South African police Casper to arrive at Sector 10 was immediately ordered to do a reconnaissance with Hippo vehicles. It wasn't long before we detonated a mine with the right front wheel. My crew escaped with no injuries at all. This incident boosted confidence considerably, and a message was sent to Pretoria to continue with production. At 101 Battalion, in the then Sector 10 operational area, the Casper was first used by Colonel Tom Ferreira, from where the name TFM was adapted to Tom Ferreira's Men. The first 12 Caspers were allocated to his team. Casper serial number TFM 111666 had an interesting history with 101 Battalion and was known as the Devil's Casper. It was the first Casper of 101 Battalion to detonate a mine, and also the first to detonate 2 separate mines on the same day. In both incidents, the vehicle was repaired under operational conditions. Sadly, TFM 111666 was also the first Casper in which serious injuries to my human friends occurred. On the day it happened, we were traveling through dense bush and drove into an ambush. An enemy soldier positioned above us in a tree fired a 60mm SKS rifle grenade onto the roof of the Casper, which detonated at the commander's hatch, causing serious facial and chest injuries to some of my crew. One of them passed away recently. On another occasion, a fellow Casper was traveling at 80 kilometers an hour when it detonated a mine under its right front wheel and overturned. One crew member broke his collarbone and another suffered a broken right leg. I also remember the day one of my fellow Caspers detonated a double TM57 mine with its front wheel on a tar road near Alpha Tower. The crew was flung out and slid over the rough tar surface, but only suffered minor scratches and bruises. A happier memory is the day TFM 111666 was painted pink and donated to the local creche for the children's playground. Undoubtedly, the threat my crew feared the most was the RPG-7 anti-tank weapon. I recall several occasions when projectiles penetrated my body from the side, killing the crew members who were in the direct line of fire. A wooden liner of 18mm chipboard was later fitted to my interior to reduce the spalling angle of shrapnel and restrict injuries to the crew. We Caspers were doing a pretty good job, as we were tough, reliable, cost-effective, and always willing to work. It wasn't long before we were being used in other roles. My cousin, Plofadder, was used to breach conventional minefields, while some of us were converted into ambulances and command vehicles. More recently, other Caspers were converted to 81mm mortar and 106mm recoilless gun carriers. Altogether, 1,700 of us were produced, 1,520 for the South African forces and 180 for foreign customers. MECAP developed a 6x4 Casper prototype to detonate mines with the sacrificial front wheels, thus saving on costs and operational downtime. This was only a concept, however, and did not reach production status. During operational service, we Caspers probably detonated more than 360 anti-tank mines, many of which were multiple mines laid in specific patterns to destroy me and my crew. For those statisticians among you, consider these facts. Over a period of 4.5 years, 229 mines were detonated, causing injury to 252 soldiers, resulting in the death of 12. Although this is very distressing, the good news is that the greater part of my crew remained safe when traveling with me. We also proved ourselves in humanitarian operations throughout the world, such as Project Terra Limpa in Mozambique. Steel wheels enabled us to drive through anti-personnel minefields which had been laid years ago and are regarded as unsafe to clear by hand. Clearing the Kawora Bassa power line from Sondo to South Africa was another tough job. In only 2 months, we covered a distance of 1,800 kilometers through dense bush. No wonder this project is jokingly referred to as the longest safari rally with armored cars. My crew and I had to withstand severe environmental conditions of heat, rain, tough vegetation, and poisonous insects and snakes. During these clearing operations, we detonated many anti-tank mines, as in this case, a TM-57 mine under the right front wheel. After a 2-hour field repair exercise, we were on the move again. In Angola, our biggest problem was the lack of roads and bridges. Here, my 4x4 capability really came to the fore, and I had to use it often to get my crew to their destination. I remember one time when I detonated an anti-tank mine boosted with mortar shells. Once again, I survived, and my crew and I were soon mobile again. For these operations, Casper vehicles had to be adapted so that vapor detection kits for sampling the air, plows, steel disc rollers, mine detection sensors, and hydraulic hoists could be fitted. International mine clearing teams regard me as an essential item in their toolbox. In the early 90s, Arms Corps and TFM began to market us Caspers aggressively to potential foreign customers. The first live demonstration to an international audience was performed at the International IDEX 95 exhibition in Abu Dhabi. Koos Joubert and Leon Cornelius drove me over a South African No. 8 anti-tank mine, not only were the crew unharmed, but it took them only 37 minutes to carry out repairs and have me operational again. At IDEX 97, my high level of mine protection was effectively demonstrated when my crew and I detonated 2 South African No. 8 mines simultaneously, one under each rear wheel. Note the confidence my crew had in my protection. Some of my fellow Caspers have emigrated to Peru and are operating in the Andes Mountains, successfully restricting the movement of drug dealers. Recently, Roymec, which acquired TFM's military business, signed an agreement to deliver more than 150 Caspers to India to function in their operational areas, including the Kashmir region. Friends, the Indian Defence Force, my newest customer, subjected me to stringent testing before placing an order. I had to drive more than 4,000 kilometers in operational conditions. I survived 4 mine detonations and countless live firing trials before driving back to the port at Bombay under my own steam. Unfortunately, I am not amphibious and had to return to South Africa by ship. Final modifications were done to me to get me in shape to meet the user requirements. In an attempt to find a suitable replacement for us in the SANDF, like with the Buffel, all sorts of projects such as Remark, Mingwe and Velskoen were initiated. They were all terminated for various reasons. And it is interesting to note that users still consider us Caspers to be the most suitable and cost-effective solution to date. On the whole, we've been well looked after. Our drive lines are old and certain major aggregates are no longer available as production items, but spare parts are readily available. Should Project Ambition 2 continue, the Casper concept with a new driveline will most definitely feature prominently in the project study. An elementary infantry personnel carrier that is reliable and easy to maintain will probably be good for South Africa and the SADC countries. Over the past 21 years, we Caspers have become a trusted friend to many soldiers, policemen and users throughout the world. Special memories will be treasured for many years to come. I understand that we may be called upon to operate in peacekeeping missions. If that happens, I have only this to say. Just make sure that my logistical backup is available and I won't let you down. My pioneers need to be congratulated, for they were indirectly responsible for saving countless military and civilian lives. Caspers have gained a worldwide reputation as the safest mine-protected vehicle ever to be developed and put into full-scale production. Our operational success with various forces and in different theaters throughout the world have demonstrated that a monocoque hull design was the correct way to go for wheeled mine-protected vehicles. Many other products have followed this approach, such as the Mfazi, Mamba, RG31 and Cobra. It has been wonderful to meet old and new friends on this special occasion. Thank you to everyone who helped make this day possible. The realistic outdoor display brings back many memories, which will be talked about for years to come. I wish all of you the very best for the future. I salute you and all those friends who could not be here with us. God bless us and our beloved South Africa.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell to receive notifications.